Okay, I think let's start. Can you hear my voice, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect.
Yes. Yes.
Let me do my drill of. Okay. Are you able to see the slides change? Guys, are you able to see the slides change?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Has Deepthi joined in? Okay, Deepthi is there. Deepthi, you wanted to share something? We are talking about performing arts today. Deepthi, are you there? Okay, whenever she comes in, she wanted to share something on performing arts. We are talking about performing arts and cultural performances. This is a part of the block three in terms of media.
Keep the iPhone because I
Deepthi,
have to make her co-host so that she can share the things.
no, she is there online or not? I don't even know that.
She is there. Actually, she has unmuted herself.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you. You wanted to share something?
Sir, give me some time.
Okay, okay. At the end, then let me do the presentation. Then I'll make you the host.
And I'll make her co-host, so nothing to do.
Okay, ठीक है. Thanks, Feroz. Okay, so let's look at the performing arts. In fact, we have seen cinema and we have seen literature. And just like, so one thing that we have seen in terms of arts is the fact that the Indian art, and especially the performing arts, have had a very deeply religious and spiritual, connection. In fact, most of the and in performing arts, let's look at. In fact, let's go through the objectives. What is performing arts? How they have gone through a change, and how perpetuating homeland cultural practices include vocal, instrumental, music, dance, theater, pantomime. So these are the performing arts. Contain a wide range of cultural expressions, and especially the music and dance have a very connection to the folklore, to religion, to spirituality. In fact, a whole lot of these arts have come out of there. So inevitably, with this connection, when these arts are taken by the diaspora when they travel, or by the migrant when they travel, there are certain changes which happen. So I have a case study. In fact, this whole presentation I have hardly picked up from your self-learning module. Your self-learning module was, I thought, didn't explain well enough in terms of how things, these performing arts change when they travel with the migrant. We have seen in earlier units, and we have been continuously talking, when people travel, they don't, there is not just a body travel, there is a travel of an identity. That identity is related to a culture, a history, a heritage. There is a whole baggage which travels along with the person. And inevitably, we have also seen in the caste system and the religion modules, that the person carries the caste identity, the caste hierarchy, the things about purity and pollution, everything carries along. So music is performing the most universal of the performing arts. Dance can be used in any culture, most commonly in intrinsic parts of performing art. Sacred or profane, classical or popular, closely linked to work of entertainment. Music can also have political and economic dimension. And this is just an introduction. In India, religion, philosophy, and myth cannot be diverse from their art forms. In fact, most of the art forms take, but we have seen that in cinema also. Cinema is deeply influenced by Indian mythology, religion, folk. Folk is, a major source of influencing most of the arts. In fact, wedding, births, coronation, entering new houses, welcoming the guests are occasions for song and dance. We tend to break into a song and dance just about for every occasion. Now that's that, and we have been constantly. Yes, Deepthi, tell me. Deepthi, you raised your hand. Yeah, Deepthi, you wanted to say something?
Yes, sir. Sir,
हाँ
give
बस
at the end of the lecture, I want to present. Give me some time.
ठीक है. How much? 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
Uh, in the end of the lecture?
Yeah,
Okay. Uh, after half an hour?
5 to 10 minutes would be sufficient for you.
No, sir. In the end of the lecture?
Okay, perfect. Let me just quickly
Okay.
finish the PPT and then I'll come to you.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we have been talking about identity. In fact, identity becomes a very important part. And
Yeah, इसको minimize कर.
just an expat by default has dual identity, public identity of the adopted country, and a private identity which retains and reflects their whole cultural norm. And that is why negotiating a host land becomes a major challenge for a migrant, because there is a cultural identity, or there's a identity from the homeland which the migrant carries and then goes into a host land where there are different cultural norms, and there's a whole new culture he or she experiences, and that negotiation becomes a very difficult thing, which leads to migrants coming together to try and give comfort to each other, find balance between public and private identity. So that is why that split identity happens, leads to a lot of confusion. So, in fact, there was some definition of an Indian identity. Sudhir Kakar posits that Indianness is a sum total of individuals' culture, historical, and psychological influences. Sorry. And this would typically happen with just about every culture and every country, or every citizen of whichever country they come from. Ensuring networks of social roles, traditional values, and customs play a significant role. Individuals intuitively subscribe and accept this prescribed course as indicative of their Indianness. So and this would be typical in terms of whichever culture a person comes from, they would prescribe that they would subscribe and accept the prescribed codes from that particular culture as the indication of that particular culture. So Sudhir has done it for Indianness. In fact, with Indian performing arts become a very important part, anecdotal evidence rich with parental accounts of having the children engage with Indian arts. In fact, Indian parents in diasporas encourage their children to have some performing arts, to learn some performing arts, especially classical dance or classical music. Shade 2006 contains that engagement with Indian dance is significant channel for establishment and creation of cultural heritage and identity. There was no indication whether this was equally true for boys and girls, or as typically tradition passes is in the women's domain, it is transferred from the mother to the daughter. The paper did not talk explicitly about this, though more often than not, it is the women which transmit the culture and not the men. So I picked up this paper on performing arts, diaspora, and identity, the case of Thayyam performance. In fact, I went ahead and saw a Thayyam performance, obviously not in the real world, but on YouTube. And it is amazing. It is amazing. It actually, but again, Thayyam is to do with God. It has to do with spirituality, religion. It's a deeply, very personal thing for a village, for the community. And we all know about Kathakali from Kerala, because Kathakali went transnational. It became mainstream. Hayam, over the last few or a last decade or something, has come out. It's a religious and ritual practice, both of diaspora and transnational activities. Native religions and culture are not only transported but also adopted, and they are recreated, which includes ritual practices, folklore, etc. And I'm sure Swadesh would have something from Telangana. They would, there would be special something out there. Vijaya, I think you would be able to relate to Thayam, considering that you are from Kerala. I'm sure the other guys from whichever region they come, there would be something which goes out. The diasporas construct homeland according to their own needs and compulsions. And we have seen how that negotiation happens. The old diasporas could not make the journey back to homeland. The homeland was thus remained in their memory, while remaining made possible through the construction of various religious institutions and structures that resemble the homeland. And that's one of the reasons why, across the world, when Indians traveled, they created temples, gurdwaras. Uh, these two were, or I think stupas were already there. So Indians were primarily into temple and gurdwara construction. By Safran et al. That the Indian diaspora has developed institution orientations and patterns of living specific to the institutional structures and socio-political context of homeland. And that's how the adjustment happens. These patterns have been marked not only by the influences of host land culture, but also religion. And we've also seen over the last few presentation and earlier how there is a creolization of cultures. Certain aspects are incorporated from the host land, with a large element from the homeland, and a mixture comes about. Transnational religious activities are part and parcel of religious globalization. And now this is the new thing which is happening because of globalization. Transnational religious activities with the global capitalism, and simultaneously there is this capitalism which is at play. There's an increased interest in people to lead transnational life. Rooted into various nation states, get to know and connect to various people and their trade. But when they move, they take with them their social and cultural histories, which are part of them. And that is one of the reasons why we saw in the SLM on caste that, irrespective of the fact that here are these professionals who move, they seem to practice their caste, identities. They carry their caste identities and practice the caste-based things which are happening in India abroad. And we saw an example in the US where this caste discrimination is still there, and kicking. Kerala was a major hub for immigrants. In fact, the culture itself of individual states were, because of various migration, internal and external. Kerala was a different, place or a different case, because there was always an immigration which happened to Kerala right throughout history, with Rome, Greece, Arab, China. In fact, Islam came in India both from north and south, and so did the spread of Hinduism both from north and south. There are much across. Migrant communities came from other parts of India, had major influence in the social and cultural upbringing of Kerala, and which always happens. So, anytime any person comes and talks about a deterministic view that this is how this thing happened, it always are multiple factors. There is never one factor which leads to the evolution of a culture, or a particular performing art, or the way things are made. The folk art tells us about village culture, the agricultural life, the village life, and the folk community. Myths and legends associated with folk arts have a story to tell. Folk art has its music, which is culture specific to community. In fact, you can all go on YouTube and check out a Thayam. In fact, there is a non-Keralite filmmaker who has made this short video on Thayam. It's like Kathakali in terms of the mask and the though the connotations are different, how it is performed is different, the settings are different. These folk arts are now on the move as a result of globalization. And the diasporic communities are the ones that harbor them by creating their own unique homeland identity. So look at the fact, Western festivals like Valentine Day, Halloween seem to be, out there in Indian metropolitan cities. In fact, Valentine Day is a concept which is known in the B class, C class, and villages too. So that's how the culture spreads. And today, internet and social media is a great route to, spread culture. The diasporic Indians have been recreating their distinct ethnic identities since the physical displacement from their homeland. They share among themselves with the next generation not only the history of the dispersion, but also, and in all this, memory and imagination plays a major part. For the first generation immigrants, it was basically the memory of the homeland and imagination of what the homeland would be because they could not come back. The subsequent generation are much more mobile and they are able to see their homelands, and based on what their parents would have or the first generation would have told them, they are able to uh, negotiate it much better. History of people in general, including myths, legends, and tradition that constitute an integral part of contemporary identity. So we have seen, in fact, in cinema, the second and the third generation have broken away from, just that, longing for the homeland. They have looked at other subjects. They've explored other aspects of migration, of diaspora, not just the longing for homeland. Levitt argues that transnational religions focus on everyday life practices of migrant religion in at least two locations. Must examine all aspects of religious life, including individual and collective manifestations, formal and but these performing arts are a great way for migrant communities, especially diasporas, to bond. These are the networks they create. So Thayyam, for example, is a popular ritual dance from North Kerala, especially in Kannur and Kasargod district. Thayyam is evolved from the word Daivatam, which means God in Malayalam. So and there are supposedly about 450 Thayyams, uh, which documentary told me about. Thayyam or the other god is a combination of dance, music, and religious worship, ascribed as devil dance by the West because they wear those masks and those costumes. It is believed to be a divine lord that has metaphors himself from the dancer to the deity during performance. In fact, that's what the filmmaker was showing, how the dancer, almost, God enters the dancer. Not actually the Brahminic. So one the story in that documentary that I saw was the fact that there were these people who fought. They were the Nambutri Brahmins who there was this great system of caste in Kerala where the Nambutri Brahmins were on the top of the caste and the untouchables could not come near, or they had to bend down. They were there was this major discrimination which happened, and all these people who fought this caste system basically became Thayyams, sacrificed their life for the sake of the villagers, and had raised the voice against the landlords of Malabar and were beaten and killed or driven from the village. So there are all storylines around it. I think you must watch a couple of these videos to figure out what this Thayyam performance is. Several variety of Thayyams, and many of these Thayyams are being sent to diasporas like Singapore, Malaysia, France, Poland, South Korea, Germany, and Muscat. Vijaya, do you have a Thayyam performance there in Kuwait? Vijaya, are you there?
Good afternoon, sir. Can you please come again? What is the question you asked?
Vijay, you are from Kerala? Do you have a Thayam
Hello?
perform? Vijay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sir. First of
O-
all, I want to clear. I am not completely from Kerala. My
Okay,
husband's father is from Kerala, and his
okay,
mother from Tamil Nadu, and
okay.
me from Telangana and Karnataka.
Wonderful, wonderful. So you are a perfect transnational entity. So I
Yes, sir.
made
But
that
we settled in Mumbai.
okay, I made that assumption from the Nair, surname that you had. Okay, perfect. So, that question is not meant for you because I was typically thinking you were currently in Kuwait, you are from Kerala, and I wanted to know in Kuwait, do you have Khayyam performances?
We have multiple type of performance. Like almost all Indians who have settled here, they have their own associations,
Okay,
and some of the performances like classical dance and other traditional uh, cultural programs used to like they used to conduct before, but after post COVID, the activities are stopped for some reason.
okay.
um, yeah,
I,
I
I,
can
I
tell
guess,
more
yeah,
than this.
I guess COVID did the major disruption across the world.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No, performances were like cultural events were stopped not because of the COVID. There are some other reasons also. Um, some other reasons, sir.
Okay, perfectly fine, perfectly fine. So there are these Thayam performances which have been exported out and performed in. Thayam is performed in the Malayalam month of September end to April, May every year. Most hectic period is from December to February. The documentary that I saw was that the Thayam was being performed at about 4 or 5 in the morning. Months such as June, July, and August are lean months for the celebration. A little bit about Thayam. Now Thayams are packaged, customized, and fetishized into a cafeteria format to cater to the demands of the customer, where the performance trades its spirituality and culture for money. So obviously, when these performing arts or these performances move across borders, they are taken by the diaspora outside. They would also want, non-Malayalis to be also be there for the performance. And obviously, there is a capitalism model which is at work. So miniature versions of Thayams are produced on demand without any restriction of time and space. Structural effect of the process that Thayam loses its ritualistic anchorage. Inevitably, all performing arts had a ritualistic and a religious anchorage and is made into an exotic spectacle which could be performed by anyone at any time. That's where things have changed, and so yeah, the dance or the performing arts was associated with a village or with a deity or with a temple or with a ancestral house, which has changed. In a foreign land is not just a simple act of crossing the geographical boundary, but also taking away the essence of the cultural specific art form. And we've seen that across. So when the Indian filmmakers, for example, in the cinema, when Indian filmmakers are making a film for the diaspora, they are not able to understand the essence in terms of the struggle of the diaspora. It's more of a cafeteria format where I want to glamorize a diaspora or to diss the diaspora. And it's actually the diaspora filmmakers who are able to get a true representation. Similarly, in performing arts, it is, where the folk, where the village or, the setting where it is happening gets the true essence. Even though the ambience can be created, they cannot construct a kavu or an ancestral home house where it can be performed on stage to the awe of the viewers without knowing the context of the specific art. And that's where, there is this disconnect between the humans and the art. So it is, another spectacle. The Thayam becomes only a dance form to be performed according to the interest of the foreign settlers. And this transition of Thayam involves abandoning one's social and cultural setting and entering into inculcating a new one. And that's how the dance form changes, the performing arts changes. Who visit their own communities for performance in diaspora had myriad expenses of emotions and ecstasies. So a lot of these people then, but there are, besides the negative side, there are some positive sides. Provide a setting for ritual. So migrants do provide a setting for ritual gathering, are often not religious, although religious element might be involved. Often music with background in religion is presented, or film music or modern popular music. That's how the changes are happening. And to show the wider public their positive contribution. Now, what this has done is the traditional art formats, zone representation evolved locally, they receive critical acclaim internationally. Once they are customized, hereby undergoing a process of cultural appropriation. So these changes lead to this. Have already reached the transnational status enacted across the world. Several art forms that are now achieving the transnational status through performances, and Thayyam is one such form. And now it started to appear in youth festivals of national games as a part of Keralite culture. 21st century globalization caused Thayyam to be commercialized, which then reaches a larger population. So the good part, and there is a good part and the bad part. The good part is the fact that reaches a larger audience. It becomes a part of the state or the community's culture, which is showcased. The bad part is there is a certain amount of disconnect between the ritualistic and religious element and the performances, contributing to the development of the tourist industry. So it becomes, everything goes into as a commercial product in the capitalist model. Cultural art forms. So that was about Thayyam. Customized Thayyam performances are now marketed to Malayali diaspora by various agents. Arrangements are made available according to the availability of resources. So it becomes a product rather than a culture, an intrinsic part of the life of a community. It becomes a product which is packaged according to the needs of the customers. So there was this story I was reading in one of the newspapers about this DAG Modern in New York. Uh, they had an art exhibition, painting exhibition called Memory and Identity. 14 Indian artists who left their native country to work and abroad. There was F.N. Souza, who went in 1924 to 2002, left for London in 49, just after partition. S.H. Raza, European art, left for Paris in 50. So these were the earlier people who left India. And we saw how Indians left in multiple waves. In first, it was in terms of indentured, then it was in terms of revolutionaries. Then there were these people who left after independence, after partition. Then subsequently, there were these people in the 90s, professionals like the IT guys, the doctors. While overt nationalism is absent from the featured work, hints of Indianness run through the exhibition. So if you see, the painting also has religious elements. Tradition of Tantra, Souza's erotic pen and ink drawing have some semblance of Kama Sutra. Shakti Burman's many armed and multi-headed figures evoke classic depiction of Hindu deities. Religion and culture influence the art tremendously. It is, in fact, heavily connected with the art. Western art critics have a tendency to interpret this work through foreigners' lens, and they call the Eastern works as exotic. Hard to deny that some degree of ethnic identity is indeed present. To what extent are these works a product of their native and adopted cultures? See, inevitably, a person who has been born and brought up for a certain duration of time in a particular culture will incorporate certain elements of that culture. And when that person moves to a distant culture, he would still draw from the inspiration of his earlier culture. That is obviously going to be there, because remember, the memory and imagination plays a very important part in a human identity. For the diaspora artist, a memory and identity, a burden or an advantage, a creative tool, or all these. Very difficult to say, but it does influence, and it becomes, uh, for some, it becomes an advantage, for some, it becomes a burden. So, this is a book, Dance, Music, and Cultures of Decolonization in Indian Diaspora, edited by Tina. It's a Routledge publication. In fact, the references given in your SLM do not actually align with the topic, this particular topic. Uh, and this book, the aspect of this book is dance and music across Indian diasporas articulate socio-political aspirations in the wake of thinkers such as Gandhi and Ambedkar. And they're giving specific examples in terms of post-apartheid practices and experience in South Africa, dance company, contestations over national identity politics in Trinidadian music competition, assimilation strategies in British dance competition, Indian classical dance projects of reform, and British multiculturalism. So these are various, examples where creolization is happening. The Indian culture engages with various hostland cultures and brings out something unique out there. Okay, let's quickly sum up. Performing arts, including vocal and instrumental music of dance, pantomime, sung, version mode, expats by default as dual identity, public identity, as well as a private identity. In India, religion, philosophy, and myth cannot be divorced from all art forms. Dance and music are tied to all ceremonies. Religious and ritual practices are fundamental aspect for the perpetuation of religion. Growth of diaspora and transnational activities. Native religion culture are not only transported to new place, but adopted strategies to recreate the religion. And in this recreation, a creolization happens where certain elements of the hostland culture also gets incorporated, or people or diasporas are able to see what is beneficial for them in terms of this, recreation. Okay. Let me stop here. Deepti has some, performing arts information. She's got some work. Deepti, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think you are. Are you the host or not, or should I make you the host? Make host. Make co-host. Okay. Hang on. Yes. Okay, Deepti, I've made you the co-host. You can share whatever you want to share.
Okay. आप सभी को नमस्ते। सॉरी सर, मैं तैयारी नहीं कर पाई थी, मेरा 2 दिन से नेट नहीं काम कर रहा था।
Okay.
लेकिन अभी जब आपने मुझे बोला तो मैंने फटाफट 4-5 पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन में कुछ पेंटिंग डाली हैं।
Okay,
तो
please.
आज मुझे सिर्फ ये बता दें मेरे पास कितना टाइम है।
You have almost 15 minutes, 10 to 15
ओके
minutes.
सर। तो हाँ, ओके सर। तो क्योंकि फिर मुझे, अगर आज की मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन थोड़ी ठीक लगे तो फिर मुझे 1 घंटे का टाइम दीजिएगा,
ठीक है,
तो मैं
done.
पूरी तैयारी के साथ एक दिन अपना
For
प्रेजेंट
all
करूँ।
those who cannot understand Hindi, you can put your translation on. You can have closed captions in
ओके सर।
English,
ओके
or
सर।
at any moment of time, if anybody has a problem, you can put it in the chat and I'll explain it in English.
ओके सर, ठीक है। हाँ,
Okay, Deepti.
तो शुड आई स्टार्ट?
Yeah, please do.
हाँ जी। मैं एक लाइन में अपने आप के बारे में बता दूं कि मैंने पीएचडी की है दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी से, और मेरी पीएचडी का विषय था भारतीय डायस्पोरा, अनुबंधित श्रमिक, भारतीय संस्कृति और हिंदी साहित्य लेखन। अनुबंधित श्रमिक का मतलब है कि जो 5 साल के गिरमिट पर 1833 में भारत से मॉरिशस, फिजी, सूरीनाम, ट्रिनिडाड आदि देशों में श्रमिक के तौर पर भेजे गए थे। तो क्योंकि वो 5 साल के एग्रीमेंट पर गए थे, तो इसलिए उनका नाम, वो एग्रीमेंट का अपभ्रंश गिरमिट बना और उनको गिरमिटिया मजदूर कहा जाने लगा।
Dipti, just a
चूंकि
minute.
उस
Dipti, just a
या
minute. For all those who do not know Hindi, let me translate. Dipti is
ओके सर।
trying to present something on indentured labor, and she's got some slides where there is some performing arts which she's going to do, and she's basically these are which was done by indentured labor. Okay, Dipti.
तो क्योंकि वो फोर्सफुली भेजे गए थे, बहला फुसलाकर भेजे गए थे 1833 में, जब स्लेवरी सिस्टम का एंड हुआ था। उसके बाद जो ब्रिटिश कॉलोनीज थी, डच कॉलोनीज थी, वहां पर लेबर की बहुत जरूरत थी। तो उन्हें भारत जो है बहुत अप्रोप्रिएट प्लेस लगा, क्योंकि भारत में उस समय ब्रिटिश कॉलोनियलिज्म था। तो वहां से, क्योंकि उस समय तक ब्रिटिश हमारी आर्थिक व्यवस्था या जो हमारी इकोनॉमिक लेवल है उसको बहुत ज्यादा खत्म कर चुके थे और बहुत गरीबी हो चुकी थी। तो यहाँ से लेबर को बहला फुसला करके इन देशों में भेजा गया था। तो मैंने अपनी रिसर्च के दौरान में जब उनकी पीड़ा, दुख, तकलीफ, एग्नी, ट्रबल और वो सब जो पढ़ा, तो मैं बहुत ज्यादा उनसे प्रभावित हुई, इन्फ्लुएंस्ड हुई, और मैंने कुछ कविताएं लिखी थी उस बारे में। फिर लेटर ऑन मैंने उन कविताओं को विजुअलाइज करने के लिए पेंटिंग्स बनवाई और मैं उनकी एग्जीबिशंस लगाती हूँ। तो मैं कुछ आपसे शेयर करना चाहूंगी।
So, for guys, the English speaking guys, Deepti has done her PhD in indentured labor, and based on the literature that she was reading about this indentured labor, she wrote some poetry, and that poetry was converted into paintings. So she's sharing those paintings with us. Okay, Deepti.
ये आप मेरी पेंटिंग देख पा रहे हैं सर? ये पेंटिंग देख पा रहे हैं?
हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल,
हाँ जी।
absolutely.
ये पेंटिंग मॉरिशस में सर एक जगह है अप्रवासी घाट, जो कि टूरिज्म प्लेस है। तो वो जब उसको मैंने देखा तो वहां पर वो दो पैरों के निशान बने हुए हैं। तो उन पैरों के, और ये जो लेबर बनी हुई है, जहाज से वो गए थे, तो उन पैरों के निशान को देखकर जो मेरे दिमाग में जो ख्याल आया था, तो उससे मैंने जो शब्दों में लिखा। आप कहेंगे तो मैं इसकी, मेरे पास इंग्लिश ट्रांसलेशन नहीं, इसकी नहीं है। तो
So
मैं
you
हिंदी
can
में
share,
पढ़ रही हूँ अपनी।
you can share in the group, in the WhatsApp
हाँ
group, the English poems that you have, or whoever, whichever poems you have written, which has got an English translation, so that everybody can understand.
ओके सर, अभी मैं हिंदी में पढ़ देती हूँ।
हाँ, and
मॉरिशस, हाँ हाँ,
Dipti, this painting is about Mauritius, where the indentured
यस
labor
सर,
traveled, and
हाँ
this is
जी।
something called what did you say? The migrant ghat.
अप्रवासी घाट हिंदी
Okay,
में ही नाम है उसका, टूरिज्म प्लेस है वो। वहां पर
it's
एक म्यूजियम भी बना हुआ है,
okay.
जहां जब ये श्रमिक पहली बार इन्होंने स्टेप रखा था।
So when
तो
this
वहां,
indentured laborers reached Mauritius, the place where they stepped the first, they put their steps out there. There is a place where these
हाँ जी,
steps have been made. This two, if you can see, the footprints have been made. That this is the place where the indentured laborers alighted from the ships.
हाँ जी।
Okay, Deepti.
हाँ। मॉरिशस का अप्रवासी घाट, पत्थर पर पड़े देखे निशान, गिरमिट पत्थर पर पड़े देखे गिरमिटियों के कदमों के निशान। पहला ख्याल कौन था जब वो आए, वो नंगे पैर थे, जो छट गए उनके पैर। कैसा मंजर रहा होगा ना, क्या क्या चल रहा होगा मन में। अनजान धरती, अनजान देश, छोटी सी पोटली बगल में दबाकर आ गए इतनी दूर। राम नाम का गुटका और लोटा डंडा, क्या कर देंगे बेड़ा पार। एटलस जहाज में चढ़ाया अराकाटी ने, भेजा इतनी दूर, क्या 5 बरस बाद वापस भी ले जाएगा वापस गांव। उन्हें तो नहीं मिला किसी पत्थर के नीचे सोना, हाँ खून जरूर बन गया पसीना। बना दिया सफेद सुना, कर दिया जंगल में मंगल। गोरों ने बटोरे नोटों के बंडल, जागी चेतना, क्या करो, लिया श्रम विद्या आस्था का साथ। बन गया उनका देश, जिसने को रोटी प्रतिष्ठा। और यहाँ आज हम 100% भारतवंशी जुटे हैं अपने पूर्वजों के चरणों को, और जो छपे हैं अप्रवासी घाट पर। सर ये कविता थी, इसमें कुछ शब्द ऐसे थे, अराकाटी। अराकाटी मीन्स रिक्रूटर।
Okay,
रिक्रूटर, क्योंकि उस समय श्रमिक अनपढ़ थे, तो
okay.
उन्होंने रिक्रूटर को अराकाटी बना दिया। जो यहाँ से उनको भेला फुसला करके रिक्रूट बना करके 5 साल के एग्रीमेंट पर अंगूठे लगवा करके ले गए थे। और सफेद सोना मतलब चीनी, वहां वो गन्ने की खेती के लिए गए थे। और राम नाम का गुटका रामचरितमानस, क्योंकि ज्यादातर जो लोग थे वो अवध और बिहार के क्षेत्र से थे, और रामचरितमानस को मतलब उस समय बहुत ज्यादा सबके प्रभावित हुए उससे। और
Just a minute. So just a minute. So Diti is talking
हाँ
about all these labor which went from the Indian states of UP and Bihar. And more
हाँ
often
जी,
than not, if you look at it from a modern definition, they were trafficked because they were given wrong
एग्जैक्टली
assurances.
एग्जैक्टली।
They were given wrong assurances and taken to Mauritius to work in sugarcane plantations. And all they had, because they went from UP and Bihar, they carried the mythology of Ramayana along with them, Ramcharit Manas, the Tulsidas Ramcharit Manas, they carried with them. And they were wondering whether they will come back to the village or not. And it was the recruiter who, because they were illiterate, the recruiter got them to sign on a blank piece of paper and transported or and shipped them to Mauritius. Okay, Dipti.
हाँ जी सर, ये दूसरी जो पेंटिंग है ये जहाज का सीन है। और सर जहाज में अगर आप ध्यान से देखेंगे तो एक मोहम्मदन व्यक्ति अपनी नमाज साथ लेकर गया, एक व्यक्ति रामायण साथ लेकर गया छोटी सी, एक लेडी बैठी है उसके पास तुलसी का पौधा है, म्यूजिक इंस्ट्रूमेंट है। तो ये सब वहाँ जब जहाज में डिफरेंट डिफरेंट कास्ट एंड कम्युनिटीज के लोग थे, और जब वो इकट्ठे गए थे तो 2-3 महीने की लंबी यात्रा में, क्योंकि उस समय वो पाल वाले जहाज चलते थे, 2-3 महीने की लंबी यात्रा में सब जाति पाति भूल गए थे और आपस में भाई बहन का रिश्ता बन गया था, जिसे जहाजी भाई जहाजी बहन आज भी कहते हैं वो। तो जब मैं अपने ट्रिनिडाड सूरीनाम गयाना की यात्रा पर जब मैं गई थी अपनी शोध के दौरान, तो वहां जब मैं बहुत लोगों से मिली तो वहां आज भी सर हर घर में झंडी लगी हुई है देवताओं के प्रतीक, देवी जी की, हनुमान जी की, और हर घर में तुलसी का पौधा है। और मैंने आम और जामुन वहां खूब खाए। उन्होंने वहां जब चौथी जनरेशन अब चल रही है, पांचवी, उन्होंने वहां पौधे बो दिए थे, बीज बो दिए थे, और वो फल बन गए। तो ये
So
जहाज की पेंटिंग है। हाँ जी, आप बोले।
So this painting is the ship which carried all these indentured labor to various places, and in fact, what Deepthi was explaining was the fact that there were people from all caste and religions out there, and she showed the fact that there is a Muslim reading namaz, and there's a Hindu who carried Ramcharit Manas, and people carried tulsi plants, which are supposed to be having a religious significance. And when she traveled to Trinidad and Tobago, she came across a lot of people who had tulsi plants. And all these people, when they carried mangoes with them, they had, sown the mango seeds out there. And now there are full blooming plants, and she had a lot of mangoes and jamuns from there. Okay, Dipti.
हाँ जी, इस कविता का नाम है जहाजी बंडल। तो जो वो गठरी जो उनकी थी, जिस गठरी में एक लोटा था, तुलसी, वो तुलसी के बीज थे, या रामचरितमानस थी, या नमाज थी, तो वो उस गठरी को उन्होंने नाम दिया जहाजी बंडल। वहां आज भी वो जहाजी बंडल के नाम से जानते हैं। तो और ज्यादातर जितने भी शरीर थे वो हुबली कलकत्ता से गए थे और बिलासपुर से गए थे, और सूरत गए थे। ज्यादातर नाम कलकत्ता पोर्ट का आता है और मद्रास पोर्ट का आता है। मैं शुरू करती हूँ।
Okay.
चाहे हुबली से चले या मद्रास पोर्ट से, चाहे आए अवध से या बिहार से, मद्रास से या नागपुर से, हिंदू थे या मुसलमान, ईसाई थे या भी, मकसद सबका एक था, पेट की आग बुझाना। काले पानी की लंबी अजानी समुद्री यात्रा, पास में छोटी सी गठरी जिसे नाम दिया जहाजी बंडल, जिसमें हनुमान चालीसा तो किसी में रामायण का गुटका, किसी में सरंगा, किसी या कुरान की आयतें, किसी में सच के बीज, किसी में चांदी के जेवर, किसी में एक आध फोटो काली सफेद। जहाज की यात्रा में लड़ते झगड़ते दुख सुख सहते बने सब जहाजी भाई बहन, भूल गए जात पात, बो दिए बीज कुली लेन में रहते हुए। उग आए आम जामुन तुलसी, आल्हा बिरहा रामायण से बन गई संस्कृति की पौध। आ गया भारत वहीं पर, त्योहारों में, संस्कारों में, भाषा में, व्यवहारों में। साथ ही चला वो देश भी जिसने रोटी दी, जिसके हम वासी हैं, और हमें गर्व है दोनों देशों।
So she's talking. She's talking about the fact that all these people who traveled in the ships, were became brothers and sisters, and they were called ship brothers and sisters. In Hindi, it's called Jahaji Bhai and Behen, and each of them carried one small. How do I define as potli? A small bundle of their personal possessions. दीप्ति, what उसको क्या बोलते थे? जहाजी पोटली,
जहाजी बंडल,
jahazi bundle. So that small bag or package contained their personal thing, and it was called a jahaji yes, jahaji bundle,
बंडल,
jahaji
हाँ
bundle.
जी।
So it was which carried their personal items as well as their personal religious symbols. And then when they went out there and they stayed in these colonies, which were the indentured labor colonies, they put all these seeds of mango and jamun out there, and the plants have come out of there. Yes, Deepti.
सर ये वाली जो पेंटिंग है ये फिजी की है।
Okay.
फिजी में सबसे लास्ट में गए थे लेबर, वहां आखिरी में, तब
Okay.
तक थोड़े से हालात सुधर चुके थे, लेकिन एक्सप्लॉइटेशन वहीं का वहीं था। तो एक लेडी थी नारायणी, उसका उसने डिलीवरी की, बच्चा हुआ था, तो 4-5 दिन का बच्चा था। वो बच्चा पैदा करने की वजह से काम पर नहीं जा पाई थी, क्योंकि उसका बहुत ब्लड लॉस हो गया था। लेकिन जब ये जो वहां गोरों का जो सरदार था वो उसको बुलाने आया, तो उसने कहा मेरी तबीयत ठीक नहीं है, तो उसने उस बाल से खींचा और घसीटते हुए कहाँ पर लेकर गया, और काफी उसको मारा पीटा। उसकी काफी तबीयत खराब हो गई थी। उस समय सिस्टम सारे थे कि आप कोर्ट में अपील भी कर सकते थे, लेकिन सुनवाई कहीं पर भी नहीं थी। उसने कोर्ट में अपील की कि इस तरह से एक्सप्लॉइटेशन हुआ है, उससे स्ट्रक्चर कह सकते हैं, खाट, चारपाई बोलते हैं, चारपाई पर लिटा करके वहां ले जाया गया कोर्ट में, लेकिन फैसला गोरों के हक में हुआ। तो उसकी जो ये वाली जो कविता थी सर, एक सिडनी में मेरे एक दोस्त हैं सतीश राय, राय फिल्म डिवीजन के ओनर, उन्होंने नारायणी प्ले बनाया, और मेरी इस कविता को उन्होंने सेटिंग में रखा है।
Okay. Okay.
उस प्ले को वहां सिडनी में और बहुत जगह ये प्ले जो है हो चुका है।
Okay.
तो ये मैं
प्ले
कविता
का
पढ़ती
नाम
हूँ।
क्या? प्ले का नाम क्या है?
प्ले का नाम नारायणी है सर।
नारायणी. Okay.
हाँ जी। कविता का नाम है, शीर्षक लक्ष्मी नारायण। क्या उनका कलेजा पत्थर का था? क्या उनके खून में जहर मिला था? जो नहीं पसीजता था उनका दिल किसी के भी दर्द से। दिन था 20 अगस्त 1920, नवजात बच्चा मरा नारायणी का। घर सूना, आंगन सूना, सूना मन और देह। कैसे जाती काम पर? ब्लॉमफील्ड राक्षस ने मारा उसे बेंत से, खींचे बाल पर, कमजोर देह पड़ी चेत। सुआ फिजी सर एक शहर का नाम है। सुआ कोर्ट में पेशी, खाट पर लिटाया, कोर्ट पहुंचाया। यहाँ भी कुर्सी पर आता ताई, फूटा राक्षस निर्दोष बनकर, और कल्याणी को बैठी मानसिक संतुलन। करके भी व्यवस्था ने क्यों नहीं खोया अपना मानसिक संतुलन? क्यों, आखिर क्यों? किसी ने सोचा है कभी?
Okay, so Deepti, this particular poem is about a lady called what क्या नाम था?
नारायणी।
Naraini, a lady called
हाँ जी।
Naraini. And this particular incident is from Fiji, where the indentured labor were taken. They were taken in the end, and by that time, situation had improved slightly better for the indentured labor, but still they were exploited. And in fact, this lady had delivered, and yet she was beaten and dragged. Uh, she was beaten and dragged, and irrespective of the fact that she complained in the court, the verdict was against her, in spite of the fact that she was unwell after child delivery and after the beatings. And Deepti is saying that this particular poem of hers was made into a play with the same name, Naraini, by a friend of
नारायणी।
hers in Australia. सो इन केस दीप्ति, अगर ये प्ले का यूट्यूब कोई है या कोई कहीं लिंक है,
यस सर,
तो
मैं उनसे
प्लीज,
मंगवा लूंगी लिंक।
हाँ, प्लीज शेयर इट इन द ग्रुप so that people can, and this is a classic case of performing art in terms of a play based on a poem or a story, and a painting comes in. So this is how media is remediated in terms of explaining a story. Okay,
हाँ जी
great. Thank you very much.
सॉरी
Or
हाँ
ठीक है दीप्ति, I think we should come to an end.
यस सर
ठीक है
मैंने बहुत टाइम ले
फिर
लिया
हाँ
सबका
no
हाँ
perfectly fine. Again the point is the idea of these kind of things. Just stop कर लो अपना presentation.
सर बस एक ये देख लीजिए, मैं
हाँ
पोएम नहीं पढ़ रही हूँ
हाँ
सर। ये हिंदी जो वहाँ फिजी, मॉरिशस, सूरीनाम, ट्रिनिडाड में जो हिंदी वाले लोग गए थे, हिंदी भाषी, और वहाँ हिंदी की अलग अलग शैलियां बन गई, क्योंकि वहाँ डच, स्पेनिश, इंग्लिश शब्द और वहाँ के जो लोकल शब्द थे वो भी मिक्स हो गए थे। लेकिन आज भी सूरीनाम में हिंदी बोली जाती है, फिजी में ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज हिंदी है। तो ये मैंने एक पेंटिंग बनवाई थी जिसमें सब देशों के मैप्स हैं और हिंदी के शब्द हैं।
So what she's saying about how Hindi as a language itself went through a creolization with local languages
यस
and changed according to according to the place where these people had gone. Most of these people were Hindi speaking, and the Hindi itself has adapted to the local conditions, and they still, for example, in Fiji, Hindi is still a official language, and people still speak Hindi, but they have adapted it to local conditions based on the local language which was spoken out there. Okay, दीप्ति
हाँ जी, मैं स्टॉप शेयरिंग कर रही हूँ सर।
हाँ स्टॉप
हाँ
कर
जी
दीजिए. Perfect. Thank you, Dipti, very much. Let me start my video. Great, Dipti. Thank you very much. Any questions
sir.
from the presentation? You can ask me. I'm sorry because for the Hindi English kind of thing, because Dipti was comfortable in Hindi, so I allowed her to speak in Hindi. And I typically requested everybody to have their closed captions so that you can, understand it in English. And anyway, I was translating. Any questions?
Good afternoon, sir.
हाँ,
Sir,
Gurpreet ji.
Sir, thanks to Deepti ji for an interesting and presentation, sir.
You can
Thank
connect.
you.
You can connect with her. She can share her other poems to you. And see, the idea of a class like this is that people are able to make their own networks, connect with each other, share their own, creative, ideas or creative products. This is not a conventional class in that sense. Sare they are much, these are not students in the student sense of the way. So that's the idea that really adds perspective and fun to the class.
True, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other question? Any question, Ujjwal? Hi, Jyoti. How are you?
Yes, sir. No question from my side today.
Okay, great. Jyoti, how are you? Swadesh, how's things? Okay. In case there is no question, then I think it's already 3:56. Let's call it up. There's a message. Okay, perfect. Jyoti is okay. Okay, so I'll take your leave. You have a nice weekend and a good week ahead. Hope it rains in the North India. The temperatures have definitely cooled down. And I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock with the last SLM on media in this particular block, after which we go to the next unit. So have a wonderful week and a lovely evening. Bye-bye then. Goodbye.
Bye bye, sir. See you
Bye.
next
Bye.
week.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.